Oh, Shallow! I'm Mermaid Naya, and I just swam here all the way from the Philippines. And Koi, am I finished? Say, I remember you. We met last year at the Ocean Institute. Well, even though we can't see each other in person, I'd still like to share some stories from all of my travels. But first, I'm supposed to meet up with my mer sister, Moxie Marina. You met her last year, too. We got it? I can switch down there?
Oh, you.
Now how do I... Oh, I know. I'll call a lift using my cell phone. Yes, shalom. Oh, yes, I need a lift. Oh, I'm, the Southern California coast. Oh, hang on. Yes, Pacific Ocean. Oh, here comes my lift now. Oh, wait. Safety first. Goldfish. I love how mermazing your scales look in the summer. I actually brought some of my friends from the Ocean Institute for a story time. So I know who you are, but do you want to remind them of who you are?
Oh, of course. My name is Moxie Marina, and I am your SoCal dolphin mermaid.
My name is Mermaid Naya. I'm Naya the Naiad. So are you ready for some story time?
I love story time. Why don't we go ahead and head over to the grotto to tell some wonderful tales?
Good idea.
I had so much fun last year, didn't you? My favorite part was telling mermaid stories.
You wouldn't believe the stories people share and believe about us mermaids and water spirits. Like this one about a water fairy named Lorelei from German folklore. The legend of Lorelei is about a beautiful girl who was so lovely that no one could resist her. Other women became jealous and demanded she be executed. She was brought before trial, and they decided that she was too beautiful and seemed too innocent to face death. Lorelei had no desire for any man except her true love, but he was long gone. In fact, at the end of the trial, the bishop decided to send Lorelei to a nunnery. The bishop hired knights to take Lorelei to the nunnery, but on the way there, while passing over the bridge of Rhine, Lorelei suddenly escaped. She slipped away, saying that she must take one last look at the waters. As she headed towards the coast, Lorelei cried, saying that she saw her true love waiting in a boat. The knights tried to stop her, but before they could, she slipped out of their grasp and into the sea. She was never seen again except for her spirit, who was known to haunt the rocks, playing harp, luring unexpected men.
Well, in the Philippines where I'm from, Philippine mermaids and mermen abound in rivers, lakes, and the basins of waterfalls, as well as bays, gulfs, and seas. In the Bicol region of the Philippines, there are myths about Magindara.
They are either said to be guardians of Bicolano fishermen or aswang ng dagat, which means demons of the sea, who will eat adult humans but do not harm children.
Those are extremes. Guarding them or eating them?
Well, they're beautiful but vicious creatures of the sea. They have colorful, sharp scales and enchanting voices that can either lure fishermen to their deaths or draw them to their rescue.
I think it just depends on whether the fishermen are fishing responsibly or not.
Aswang, the god of chaos, wanted revenge on his brother Gugurang, who lived inside the Mayan volcano, because Gugurang punished him for being evil. Aswang planned on abducting Gugurang's friend, the moon god named Bulan. Bulan liked to go swimming in the waters of Bicol, so Aswang sent the vicious mermaids known as Magindara to capture him. But when the Magindara saw Bulan, they saw how beautiful and luminous he was. Well, he was the moon after all, and they forgot what they were sent to do, and instead started playing with him. And that's how the moon god Bulan turned the vicious sea creatures into friendly and playful mermaids.
That's so interesting and very cool. Did you know in Irish folklore that their mermaids are actually quite nice too? They call them murros though. The women are quite beautiful, but the men are all green and they kind of have weird teeth and they have weird eyes, but they can still be quite friendly. There's a really cool story called Soul Cages about it. Today though, I'm going to tell you a different story.
A long time ago, long before our story began, a beautiful lady was said to live in a castle upon the lake. She was promised to a king's son, but once the king's son was murdered, she grew in despair and threw herself into the lake. No, I know, that sounds a little sad, but I swear, it has a purpose. Later on, many years, people began to see a beautiful white trout swimming throughout the lake. They found this very curious as they had never seen a white trout before. Over the decades, this one white trout kept reappearing in the lake. The people began to believe that it must be a fairy, a water spirit of some sorts, that was bringing all of the prosperous things upon their village. The villagers, therefore, respected this white trout, had an agreement not to catch her and to let her live out her life. Enter our villain, a man who knew all about the legend but did not care. He laughed at the townspeople, for he had not grown up in the village. He thought that this myth must be a silly rumor and found it a challenge to catch the white trout. Well, one day, with all his might, he was able to catch the white trout, and he thought it'd be a good idea to try to eat her. The man tried to grill the fish, allowed her to cook on one side, then flipped her over, just to find, once he turned her over once again, she was never burned. He did this numerous times, trying to fry the fish. Eventually, he realized the fish wasn't grilling and gave up, but not on the idea of eating the fish. He grabbed his knife and grabbed his fork and attempted to carve into the beautiful white trout. The moment the villain began to cut into the beautiful white trout, something strange happened. The fish miraculously transformed into a beautiful woman. "Look where you cut me, you villain!" The once fish, now turned beautiful woman said. "Why did you take me from my river?" The man felt very ashamed. He didn't know what to say. Now a beautiful lady, the white trout continued. "I was on duty then. I was watching for my true love. And if he comes while I'm out here, I'm gonna turn you into a pickin'." The man explained that he didn't understand or know that she was on duty, although the village had warned him about the myth. The white trout said it was no excuse and asked to be put back into the river. The villain was very confused. "Oh, my lady, how could I have the heart to drown a beautiful one like you?" But before he could say another word, she had vanished and turned into a tiny white trout again, But now there was a small red cut where he had cut into her. He panicked, grabbed the fish, and began running towards the river. Once he got there, he tossed her in. People began to see the trout in the water again. The same white trout they'd seen for many decades before, but now it had a tiny red cut on its side. This is a common tale all over Ireland, and many holy wells are haunted by such blessed trout.
Oh, did you hear the one from Indonesia?
The Indonesian legend of the sea mermaid originates from Syria. The Syrian goddess Atargatis was a guardian of the Syrian people. Since the lower part of her body resembles a fish, Atargatis is often referred to as a mermaid goddess. Indonesian legend has it that Atargatis was suffering from a broken heart. After being broken-hearted for a long time, she decided to seek true love elsewhere. So, she left Syria and swam all the way to Indonesia. In Indonesia, the mythical sea creature soon became known as Putri Duyung by the local people. According to their beliefs, the symbol of a weeping mermaid represents a woman's heartfelt pain when she is left by her love. To this day, you can still buy Putri Duyung tears as a love potion. It's supposed to mend a broken heart and even make lost loves return to you.
But that's so sad.
Oh, no, don't cry. Or at least if you do, save them so that we can sell your tears as a love potion for some sand dollars. Ooh, I've got one more story to share.
But your story's always mushy and about love.
Well, fine. Here's a story about mermaids from Japan.
Oh, they must be beautiful.
Living in peaceful lakes, surrounded by cherry blossoms, with their long, dark, beautiful hair flowing as they swim in koi ponds.
Actually,
Japanese mermaids, called ningyo, don't quite look like traditional mermaids. They're portrayed as creatures with the top half of a monkey and the bottom half of a fish.
Say what now?
yep, according to local Japanese traditions, ningyo don't have human torsos at all.
Instead, some say they even have a reptilian head attached to the body of a fish and can even have horns with a mouthful of razor-sharp fangs.
Ugh, okay, can we go back to the love stories, please?
There is even a type of ningyo that's called the amabie, which is said to have the beak of a bird and scales from the neck down.
The ningyo are believed to have mystical abilities. For example, they are often said to be able to cry tears of pearls. And some ningyo, like the amabie, are thought to be able to foretell the future.
Wow, that's mermazing. It's really exciting to see how different cultures perceive mermaids and water spirits around the world.
Right? And there is no right or wrong way to depict mermaids. The different beliefs are what make for great stories. Plus, it's really nice to visit and share tales. And just, catch up with my sister.
That's right, that's why it's so important to be accepting of stories from all over the seven seas.
Speaking of sea, I have to catch the tide and head back to the Philippine Sea.
Oh, let me call you a lift.
Oh, that would be great. And maybe we'll see you next year and get to tell even more stories.
Till then, remember to sanitize your fins, cough into your flippers, and keep our oceans clean by properly disposing of masks and gloves.